the PP loses its absolute majority, but no coalition negotiations yet. Industry briefing as the aircraft registry outlines its vision and potential economic impact. Public health moves to enhance surveillance on the hantavirus outbreak, but says current risk is low. And a US forum calls for the US military to withdraw from its base in Rota and relocate to Gibraltar. Good evening. The Partido Popular has lost its absolute majority in the Junta de Andalucía elections, meaning it will likely have to rely on a coalition with right-wing Vox. The PP came in at 53 seats, 5 less than it previously had, meaning it fell short of the 55 needed to lead without support from another party. Vox won 15 seats, more than it did last time. The biggest gains of the night went to the left-wing Adelante Andalucía, which gained 6 seats, going from 2 to 8. The PSOE lost 2 seats, keeping 28. Vox gained 1 seat, meaning they have 15. And the left-wing coalition Por Andalucía retained their 5 seats. The regional elections have significant knock-on effects for Gibraltar. Vox's National Party manifesto is the most hardline, describing Gibraltar as a den of thieves and vowing to oppose any deal which doesn't respect Spain's sovereignty claim. Negotiations on a potential coalition have not yet begun. The Gibraltar Aircraft Registry has held an industry briefing outlining its vision, market positioning and potential economic impact. The event was opened by the Minister for Commercial Aviation, Cristian Santos, and featured presentations from key figures involved in the project. The registry is privately owned by Jorge Colindres, who also operates similar registries in Aruba and San Marino. Speaking at the conference at the Sunborn, he said he hopes it will attract hundreds of aircraft in the coming years.
It's great to see there is both local and international interest in this exciting project.
The Gibraltar Aircraft Registry has been in the pipeline for a number of years. It forms part of the Aviation Registry Group, which was founded by Jorge Colindres in 1992, going on to serve Aruba and San Marino. Then in 2021, with the approval of the UK Department of Transport, the company signed a 20-year exclusive agreement with the Gibraltar government.
We started looking at different venues around the world, and we find that Gibraltar will be an advantage for a group of companies to, set up our third registry because of the experience and the service industry. The service industry is key. You have professional services already accustomed to give, clientele, international clientele, the dedication that they're looking for. And with aviation, we just bring it up a little bit to a higher level so we can develop a new scope of services for younger generations.
Well, actually, we're starting a new industry in Gibraltar. We're starting with an aircraft registry. Obviously, Gibraltar has for a long time had financial services registers. It's had the maritime register. And as the Minister said when we spoke here today, why haven't we had an aircraft register before? So we're now looking to put that right. But in practical terms, it means that we'll have aircraft flying with the Gibraltar national mark on the back, on their tail. It means for us that we get to look at aircraft to make sure they're safe, and we have the responsibility for making sure that they remain airworthy and they're operated in the correct manner.
OK, now why would an aircraft want to register here in Gibraltar?
Well, I think for a number of reasons. Firstly, all the large registries, they have a lot of bureaucracy. So to get something happening on your aircraft could take weeks. Here, we'll be able to turn around very quickly. We've got a very small team and we'll give personalised service. Secondly, why would they come to Gibraltar and not to some of the other registries that are around the world? Well, actually, I think the things that we take for granted, the fact we speak English, the fact that we've got a very well-established legal framework, the fact we've got a financial services sector, all of those things add to Gibraltar's advantage. Plus, we're positioned nicely in the world as a crossroads.
The briefing brought together key players who set out the company's vision for Gibraltar and the potential economic impact caused by the ripple effect of the registry.
Our vision is only one, to make Gibraltar a success story, as we have done in the other jurisdictions. By nature, Gibraltar is unique. So this is a double unique registry because of what Gibraltar represents and what we bring into Gibraltar as well as a group of companies.
We're looking for the upper end corporate jets. So aircraft, as we call it, over 6 tons. So the large corporate jets that are flying around the world. We're looking initially for aircraft that are owned privately and being used by their owners privately, but we hope to then move forward and accept commercial aircraft. So we're talking sort of the Ubers of the air, if you like.
We feel that we will have probably 5 to 10 airplanes the first year, maybe 20 the next year, and from third year on, we shall see. We're going to be in the hundreds, hopefully.
The briefing set out practical details such as who can register, compliance and key advantages.
What we're looking at is the money that we'll bring in from the registration process itself and from the inspection process. But for the wider community in Gibraltar, each aircraft will need somebody in the legal firm to actually do the legal work that they require. The aircraft will require insurance, which gives opportunities for the insurance companies in Gibraltar. And actually, aircraft will also require mortgages, which again gives the banks some opportunities to see if they can get an aircraft to have a mortgage with them. Obviously, an aircraft is the type we're talking about are not inexpensive. So there's a real buzz about the prospect of the registry starting. And actually, that augurs really well for having a strong register, which will actually bring money into Gibraltar.
So I want to extend my greetings to the people of Gibraltar and to the government for embracing us and on top of that, for trusting us.
With everything now in place for takeoff, hopes are high that it could open the door to new business opportunities on the Rock.
The jury in the trial of Joshua Benabou has been discharged after a juror informed the judge they knew the complainant's parents. Mr. Benabou denies 5 counts of sexual activity involving a child. The case has been adjourned to the 28th of May, when a new trial date is expected to be set. Public Health says the current risk posed to Gibraltar by the hantavirus outbreak is considered low, although authorities have moved to what they describe as enhanced surveillance. The GHA says it has limited specialist infection control capacity for this type of high-consequence infectious disease.
In answer to GBC questions, the government said no one meeting the World Health Organization's criteria for contact tracing has been identified locally so far. It adds that no hantavirus infection risk has been linked to a plane which recently travelled to Gibraltar after delivering medical supplies to Tristan da Cunha following a suspected outbreak on the island. Number 6 also confirmed the strain associated with human-to-human transmission has never been recorded on the Rock, and say there have been no recent human cases of hantavirus in Gibraltar. Public Health is reminding people to follow good hygiene and rodent control measures, particularly where there may be rat activity.
The war of words between the government and the GST over Gibraltar's heritage management and the Upper Rock has continued, with the opposition accusing government of avoiding key questions about millions of pounds generated through ticket sales. In its latest statement, the GST says the public deserves to know who is receiving what, adding the public deserves transparency, not deflection.
The back and forth between the government and the GST began earlier this month after the government announced what it described as a major initiative to document 85 World War II pillboxes. The GST then questioned why the work hadn't been done sooner and criticised what it described as the terrible state of some military heritage sites. Number 6 responded by accusing the opposition of misunderstanding heritage management and highlighted projects including restoration works at the Moorish Castle and Northern Defences. The debate intensified when Shadow Minister Damon Bacino called on Heritage Minister John Cortez to address what he described as the neglected state of several wartime defence structures. He also raised concerns about the management and finances of tourist sites, including Parsons Lodge. In reply, Number 6 accused the GST of prolonging the dispute for media attention, while insisting the government remains focused on protecting Gibraltar's heritage. In its latest statement, however, the GST says the government still hasn't answered key questions over Upper Rock ticket sales and the reported £6 million expected to be paid last financial year for sites management systems.
There's been plenty of movement around the Royal Navy submarine, HMS Anson, during its stay on the Rock. This weekend saw loading and unloading of munitions at the South Mole. HMS Anson is an Astute-class nuclear-powered attack submarine capable of carrying torpedoes and cruise missiles. The Royal Navy says she represents the cutting edge of the United Kingdom's military capabilities. A conservative United States think tank has called for the US military to withdraw from its base in Rota and relocate to Gibraltar. Earlier this year, the Spanish Premier condemned the US and Israel's attack on Iran and refused to allow Rota to be used as part of the military action. In a post on its website, the Middle East Forum says President Donald Trump should not forgive Spain.
The think tank's director of policy analysis, Michael Rubin, said Spain had sold technology to Iran which was dual use, meaning it could be used for military purposes. In his article in the Middle East Forum Observer, Mr. Rubin said there would be a meeting of the U.S. House Committee on Armed Services, a standing committee of the U.S. House of Representatives. He said this would feature the Assistant Secretary of Defense and the commanders of the U.S. Central Command and U.S. Africa Command, and that they will likely defend the current footprint of U.S. bases. And that other members of the committee have previously argued the base at Rota is essential and irreplaceable. However, Mr. Rubin argues, while Rota is currently essential to U.S. logistics in the Mediterranean, Gibraltar is an alternative. He argues in favour of a lease on Gibraltar's British base, claiming this would be a much better match for US military and diplomatic needs than Rota. The Middle East Forum article calls for President Trump to set an example for other European countries to discourage them from following Spain's lead. It calls for him to define Ceuta and Melilla as occupied Moroccan territory, and for the relocation of US assets from Rota to Gibraltar.
GST MP Joel Ladislaus has been appointed Vice Chair of the Commonwealth Parliamentary Association's Overseas Territories Women Parliamentarians Network. The group aims to create a safe space for women parliamentarians across the overseas territories to share concerns, identify barriers within political life and discuss solutions to improve representation and inclusion. Joel Ladislaus spoke to Kellyanne Borge on Gibraltar Today.
We have the most women that a Gibraltar Parliament has ever had, and as you say, the first female speaker, which makes us immensely proud. But we still fall under the 25% for elected female representatives within Parliament, which isn't reflective of actual reality and daily life, which we're 50-50. So we are aiming for that 50-50, and I hope one day we'll reach it. So
yeah, despite that progress, there is still a way to go. So why do you think representation still remains relatively low?
So we still look back to the age-old questions on, again, caregiving. Women still feel that they should be home and they should be the ones stretching themselves thin in order to take on the caregiving responsibilities, particularly with children when they're young. We also have, there are fears about, for example, safety at times. Women also have more, they're trolled online more than men are. And we did hear within these meetings that one, certainly from another jurisdiction, refused to stand again because she was being hounded online. And it became incredibly difficult for her to assume her responsibilities, and her mental health just suffered so much that she decided not to run again. And it's just saddening to hear those things. So there's still a lot to be done there.
Ms. Ladislaus gave an example of a little change she believes would help make things better.
There are some very little things that can be done, for example, that might seem insignificant. And I'll give you a very big one for me, which I always talk about. And that's the fact that we don't have oversight as to what's going to happen in Parliament as to the timetable. So I don't know exactly when Parliament's going to be called next. And when it is called, even within the agenda, it's still fluid, and we're not certain what hours we're going to be in Parliament. That can have an impact, particularly on women who, as I say, is parents across the board anyways, but more so on women who often take on the main caregiving responsibilities.
You're watching GBC News. Still to come, the Tercentenary Sports Hall has a new floor, and we bring you the colour and fun of World Museum Day. We'll be back in a few minutes. You're You're watching GBC News. The Tercentenary Sports Hall has a new fixed wooden floor, replacing another new floor after concerns were raised about playability. The original new wooden sprung floor was installed at the Europa Sports Complex for last year's Netball World Youth Cup and then transferred to the Tercentenary Sports Hall. However, it's now been removed and replaced with a new fixed version. CEO of the Sports and Leisure Authority, Regan Lima, said this was done at negligible cost. The Minister for Sport thanked all the associations affected as well as GJBS. Leslie Brousson said he was glad to deliver another manifesto commitment, saying investments like these are crucial in supporting local sports as well as events-led tourism.
We laid the floor originally, which was, as you say, a legacy of the Netball World Youth Cup. We weren't happy with the floor. We've had issues with the event supplier. The floor was removed and it's been replaced again. This is a brand new floor, replacing what was a brand new floor. Sports in this complex have been affected as a consequence. Again, badminton, basketball, volleyball, etc. We haven't had any complaints from anyone. Everyone understands that this has to be done and that there will be an inconvenience to them. And look, whether we have other associations financially contributing towards the maintenance or upkeep of other facilities. Look, let's be honest, the GFA has invested over £3 million into upgrades in Europa. You know, whether we like it or not, it's there, and it's there for the whole community, because if another sport holds an event in the main pitch at Europa, they have now extra seating facilities, which is being funded by another association. So it benefits our community at large. We're now getting a new AstroTurf pitch laid at Europa. Again, it's being paid for by them, but it's going to be used by rugby, it's going to be used by cricket, and whoever else needs to use the facilities. So yes, we do have to share facilities, and where possible we can get people to contribute for the use of in one way or another, then that's great for the community.
I take the opportunity to thank them all the intersports that have been affected, because from day one they've really understood what was happening and actually really helped us along. They've been playing league games elsewhere. We've got about 2 weeks to finish. I think it's a basketball and volleyball season that need to, I think, give or take a 2 week period, after which we'll start preparations for the international. But I think we forget that our sporting fraternity locally is very well versed in what happens. They travel a lot and they see what other countries, which are much bigger than Gibraltar, have. And then when they come back, they really appreciate what it is that we do have locally.
Gibraltar is now integrated into the European Child Helpline Network. Statistics such as a 40% increase in domestic abuse as a reason for calling prove Childline serves an important role as part of a multi-agency approach. CEO Caroline Carter was on Gibraltar Today, where she explained what difference the expansion would make to the services offered by the charity.
So that is something that's really significant. It means that we're linked with all other European helplines. So if a community here, if we're going to travel to Europe and we need support from any child helpline in any other country in Europe, the number is the same, making it really easy for children and families to get support, because adults can also reach out, not just to Childline Gibraltar, but to other child helplines if they're on holiday. So 116, 111 if they want support of any kind when traveling in Europe. But it also means that other children, when they come on holiday to Gibraltar, that they have that number that they're used to, that they'll get connected to us, because it gets connected to the official child helpline of that country. And we have had calls from maybe people on holiday that have needed support. Maybe they're having a panic attack, they're having a meltdown, and we've been able to provide support to that family. And that's why this is so important, and particularly locally. We've got our border coming down in the 10th of July with the summer holidays coming. And I think it just gives us that safety, but also that commonality that we are on a par. If you travel in Gibraltar, you travel in Spain, there's one number that you just need to remember, which is important for kids.
In Gibraltar, Childline receives around 500 to 800 calls a year. That's 40 contacts a month. Most calls centre around mental health, with the feedback from children showing a significant rise in families feeling increased pressure.
Just acknowledging that children feel and expressing that there's more pressures in their families, and I think we need to take note of that. Of the different elements of our categories, we found that domestic abuse as a reason for calling has increased by 40%.
In the last year?
In the last year.
Wow.
And that's something that we've noted too. And it could be because we offer specific support for children who are victims of domestic abuse. It could be wider awareness in the community. The RGP highlight it quite a lot. GBC highlight it quite a lot. And so I think that's also something we need to take note of.
The museum held its annual open day this weekend with activities, crafts and displays on offer for young and old. It was also an opportunity for the general public to see the new Flint Gallery, inaugurated last week. The Gibraltar Museum was the place to be on Saturday as they celebrated their annual open day. There was lots on offer during the day: face painting, arts and crafts, a treasure hunt, as well as a very popular fire-making display. Professor Geraldine Finlayson took some time out during the day to let us know how it was all going.
So the day started slowly and then people started arriving, and now it's almost full to capacity. It's going really, really well. Everyone's got lots of things to do, lots of activities. And of course, this year we're celebrating the 100th anniversary of the finding of the child's skull in Devil's Tower. We call him Flint, and we have a new artist's impression, a forensic artist's impression of what Flint really looked like. So he's got his front teeth are missing because you can actually see on the skull that the two adult teeth are still impacted. They haven't grown through. So he'd lost his milk teeth, but the adult teeth hadn't come through. So you'll be able to see that in the display.
Very good. Perfect.
An exciting and educational family day out. No doubt there'll be lots of kids eagerly awaiting next year's museum open day. Marriages and civil partnerships with the Department of Immigration and Home Affairs can now be booked online. Before today, this could only be done via email. The payment of fees can also be handled through the booking system. The calendar's on the immigration section of the government website. In sport, there's lots happening, including a street netball takeover, futsal playoffs, basketball, semi-finals and more. Robin Shepherd-Gapurro has the latest.
We'll begin with futsal, and the First Division playoff final will go down to the third deciding leg this coming weekend. On Saturday, Lynx thrashed Europa 9-3 to level the tie. Michael Borja Sanchez was instrumental from start to finish.
So I think we know was the mistake last game. The last game we considered 4 goals and basically was our mistakes. And we decide to play focus, to don't get mistakes on our pitch, and that's what we did. So we basically, I think, was a big difference during the game, and that's why the results, 9-3.
Street netball took over Campion Park on Saturday morning. It's the second time the GNA have hosted the event, which proved extremely popular.
We've done a lot of stuff. It's been really fun. We've at least done pretty much 2 matches each, so we've done a lot of work. And we've also played Crazy Catch, where it's like a game where you line up, you have to throw the ball, and the other person needs to come in and catch it instead. So
my day has been good as well, like Caitlin said. We played like 2 matches, and as well we've been like running up and down like to the park and stuff.
In athletics, the second edition of the Inter-School Championships returns on Thursday. Lathbury Sports Complex, the place to be, as 200 boys and girls from Bayside, Westside and Prior Park compete. It's been dubbed the Dynamic New Athletics Championships. Students will go head-to-head in an exciting, modern, fast-paced format. Westside School won it last year, but can they retain the title? Euro hockey just around the corner. A handful of local teams are jetting off over the next couple of days. Best of luck to them. In basketball, a huge semi-final tie to look forward to for the GABA under-14 girls in the Cádiz League. They face Prado del Rey, unbeaten all season, on Saturday at the Tercentenary Hall. Your support could be the difference.
And that's all from tonight's news. We leave you now with footage from the weekend's events, including the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride, the Generous Hearts Fun Run and the Eco Festival. From the team and myself, good night.